So one of the big questions we have is, why doesn't Boston disappear after the Revolutionary War? During the British occupation, the population had plummeted. There were only 3,000 to 4,000 people still in town. Smallpox epidemic going on too. And the British tore down every abandoned building they could for firewood, also cut down the trees and shingles, fences, all disappeared. The town was devastated during the British occupation. Not out of maliciousness, but simply because the British needed firewood and needed places to house their troops. So when the Continental Army entered Boston, the town was devastated. So why don't they pack up and go somewhere else? Instead, Boston revives after the war. One reason is the capital was here, and one of the things the British government had wanted to do was move the capital out of Boston. That met fierce resistance, fierce political resistance in the early 1770s, and probably because there had been that attempt to move the capital, afterward Bostonians and people in Massachusetts in general really liked having the capital in Boston and wanted to keep it here. Second, and it may be more important, Boston had a better port than any other town in Massachusetts, better harbor facilities than Salem, and the better port, more islands, more commodious. So good port, good place from which to outfit ships. So instead of the capital of Boston moving to Salem or to some other far-flung place, merchants from other parts of Massachusetts move in to make up for the gap that's been opened up by the Loyalists leaving and by the British leaving, reviving the place. And over time then, over the next 20, 30 years, Boston will come to dominate trade with China and other places. Trade in Boston revives, and Boston emerges by the 1820s, within 50 years of the Revolution, as one of the most important ports in North America, in the new United States. Political developments in Boston are also important. The state constitution ensures stability. There is an attempt in the late 1780s during Shays' Rebellion to move the capital out, but again, Boston stays as the capital of Massachusetts. They do move the Capitol building itself. Just about every other state, you should remember, moves its capital during this period, moves into the interior, and the interiors will become the centers of population. So, for example, the capital of New York moves from New York to Poughkeepsie and ultimately to Albany. Capital of Pennsylvania moves from Philadelphia to Harrisburg. Capital of Virginia moves to Richmond, ultimately. Charleston, South Carolina had been the capital. The new capital is Columbia. Boston is one of the few states which does not move its capital. However, they do move the State House itself from the old State House to a new State House built on the top of Beacon Hill. They move about 3 blocks west. That's their concession to the westward movement. And actually, the building of the new State House in the 1790s is one of the triggers that will make Beacon Hill a center for Boston culture. And the State House itself is a symbol of Boston's place in the New World and the idea of republics in the New World. And with great ceremony, the old State House is closed down, and there's a procession led by the sacred codfish that had hung from the State Assembly chamber ceiling. That leads the procession to the new State House, where the codfish hangs to this day.